Afternoon. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure what the format is. Is this just write the questions? Is that what we're doing? Okay. Go ahead.
When you look at the quarterbacks in this league,
Yes.
obviously, highly touted quarterbacks. I think somebody said 12 of the 14 are here. How does this league sort of stack up quarterback-wise to some of the leagues you've coached in, and what are you expecting from some of the quarterbacks you have to play?
Sure, as good as any. Again, not having haven't been on the other side of the country for so long. I was well aware of Miami's roster and the issues, but I wasn't quite in tune with the level of quarterback play at the other schools. And as we all know, it's just really impressive. As you watch all the NFL mock drafts, it's littered with ACC quarterbacks, and for the right reasons. They really are that special. They are that good. And I think what you're finding also is that the ACC is doing a great job recruiting at the line of scrimmage. And when you couple great quarterbacks with great line of scrimmage play, and you're always going to find great athletes in the area, the brand of football, the caliber of offensive play is just that much more high level and more difficult to stop. So.
How about Drake May in particular? You guys played against him last
We
year,
did.
And you've got him again, I think.
No, he's elite. He's super special. The size, speed, intelligence, pocket presence, all that stuff. We all seen the arm, the accuracy, but his ability to understand where he's protected and where he's not protected, and how to buy time. I mean, the subtleties. The one touchdown he threw against us, where he was almost in the grass, just about had to scoot his way up there and then buy a little time, and on the way down, put enough air on a ball that's going to be caught by an under route that's going to have to make its way across to the opposite, and that's special stuff. But you saw him do it with his legs as well. Their draw game, the quarterback draw game for them was extremely effective. So, and he's a relentless competitor. That guy, he's never out of it. He's always in it, and he plays with tremendous effort.
Coach, you spoke a little bit about bowling before. I just want to get your thoughts on a guy like Jeff Ross going into his first year in the conference. Just had his first.
Well, he's done some great things in his career, both as a player and as a coach. Briefly touched on it when we were at the conference meetings earlier this year, that 3 of us were sitting at a table and 3 of us were coaching at our alma mater, and Brent Key and Coach Baum and myself. So, but certainly a ton of respect for him and his work.
You talked about the Schnellenberger trophy a little bit in there. When you found out that was going to be, what was your reaction?
Well, you gotta understand. Like, I know Coach Schnellenberger, knew him personally. I mean, he recruited myself. He recruited my brother. My father, may he rest in peace. May Coach Schnellenberger rest in peace. My parents, both of them, they loved Howard Schnellenberger. Loved him. And I don't think people realize what he did at the University of Miami. And when he got there in 1979, and how the program was really kind of up in the air. And 4 years later, in his very epic statement said, we're on a collision course with a national championship. The only variable is time, right? Well, he made that a reality. He dug into the community. He brought the city and community together during some difficult times in the community. And then he, legendary, And actually then later, how things come full circle, I got to face him as a head coach at FIU while he was at FAU as well. So very fond of him, very grateful to him. He made the game better. I think it's a great way to honor him. Again, I'm very much more fond of the pipe, because the pipe was the pipe now. My dad did cigars, Howard Schnellenberger did the pipe. So they had a lot to talk about. And
get you to expound on something that he was asking about Coach Braun and Coach Keith. Is there any more pressure, I don't know if that's the right word, or different about coaching at your alma mater than someplace else?
I just think that word is just very, I don't know if I want to say foreign. It's just, expectations are a privilege. Come on now. I mean, why do you do it? And how do you want to go to the grave? I'd like to know that I had a chance to find out. Doing it at the highest level, at the very best of my ability, against the very best. So I think it's nothing but privilege.
How much time will you allocate to fall camp to the new clock rules, and it's not necessarily now?
I think you incorporate live football. When I say live, at least you can't, because you can't go to the ground every day. but live clock management on a daily basis.
Do you think it impacts the offense more or the defense?
Well, it depends on what you're playing with and playing against, right? Tempo versus huddle versus varied tempos. I think, I think in the end it's kind of a wash. I think it all evens out, but we will see. We will see.
Ari, what's the biggest thing you learned from last year?
Well, the importance of people, I think, continues to resonate. My father always used to pull out a map and all the lines that divide the states and cities and counties. He used to look at me with a big cigar in his mouth and say, "You see all that? All these lines that divide cities and counties, and none of that matters. Hard work and doing right by others works here. It works there. It works there. It doesn't change." And I think that when you have to understand what you're leaving and what you're taking on. We left the program in a very different state than the program we were taking on, right? Programs make changes because there's success or there needs to be success. We left success to go restart and rebuild them. And to do so, you have to really dig in right hard with people that understand what that takes. It takes a lot of toughness because you can't change the roster, right? You can't magically make things appear or disappear. You have to go and do the best you can, and you got to deal and accept whatever that result is, and not shy away from it, sugarcoat it, or make an excuse. And I love that about football because it helps our guys prepare for life, right? We always eliminate struggle for our kids nowadays. That ain't it. I think it's important, and I enjoy that part. And I was hired to be able to handle what comes with that. So it's probably more reconfirming all the things my high school coach Dennis Lavelle used to teach us all the time.
Mario, you guys had a great recruiting class.
Yes, sir.
That you just signed. How important is it for you guys to win on the field this year to keep that momentum going on recruiting?
I think it's important to show progress all the time. I think I was kidding with someone earlier. Yeah, we signed the number 5 class in the country, but Miami should have been doing that every single year, right? And then I also said, well, we probably wouldn't be here. So it all kind of goes full circle, right? So, well, that being said, the portal class was just as important because of where we are in our state, in our stages of rebuilding. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, it does require a blend. The best teams we've been on had a blend of guys from the Northeast, South Florida, North Florida, the West Coast, older guys, transfer portal experienced guys, young guys that can impact, young guys that can develop, retain players that have a high level of accomplishment, a sense of urgency and toughness and resiliency. Like that combination, I think really, really works. So, but that class, they're as good they are as human beings as they are players, and that class is very responsible for recruiting the next class as well. And you know what made them stick together? From the beginning, we were very honest. We never sold the dream that this was turnkey. It didn't get here overnight. It's not going to be an overnight process to get to where we need to get to. And because we were honest, that class stuck together, and they've gotten us off to a great start this spring. And I think what we all know and feel that Miami will have some really good progress this year.
What else the commissioner spoke highly of NIL? Can you speak to just the landscape that is, and then how we continue to get better and try and benefit the student athletes with this whole deal?
Yeah, it's the NIL has done some really, really good things, and I think when people frown upon it, they don't understand it, and I don't know if anyone fully understands it. I know that people are working diligently to make it make sense and to make it. My only wish was that it was tied to academics, because no matter what anyone thinks about who should make this, I'm glad our players are able to, profit from it. I just think that somehow, some way, we're still responsible for a better life and a pathway for our student athletes, and we still got to tie in education. We got to tie in that diploma, and not only the piece of paper, but the requirements that go and come with earning that diploma. I mean, come on, man. I mean, we can't ever stray from that And I'm sure there's a model in effect to try to. So I've answered nothing for you. You know, I mean, I know that I remember being on a team that we didn't know what the word NIL was. We just knew that we won a national title, but we couldn't buy a pizza and a T-shirt in the window at the mall that said national champions. That's hard. I knew that my parents, if they wanted to go see the game, it was them and the Garcias in the station wagon, the family truckster, and get going, right? Get yourself to New Orleans to watch the Sugar Bowl. And those problems, those challenges are alleviated now. And hopefully there could be some sense of, I don't know, just understanding and an organization where it makes sense for everybody.
What's your assessment of Florida's NIL law? And some have gotten kind of, other states have adopted things that are a little bit even more freer. Is Florida still competitive?
I think it is, and I still think it's a work in progress. You know, when it comes to subjects like this, I think it's important to have everybody in a room and make change instead of make noise. I feel like NIL is surrounded by a lot of noise and not enough pathways, I guess, for betterment. So I didn't answer your question yet.
Mario, how do you get a new offensive line to gel, especially when there's so many transfer pieces and you guys do so much cross-training along the lines? Why do you and Coach Norvell really believe very strongly cross-training?
The best example I can give you is Penei Sewell, number 6 or 7 pick overall, starting left tackle, Outland winner, All-American, gets drafted by a Detroit Lion, gets tapped on the shoulder, hey buddy, you're going to right tackle. Okay, so it's twofold. Number one, and on our team, there are going to be issues and injuries, and someone's going to have to move. And you're better off moving one piece than two pieces, right? The more pieces you move, the more the multiples become more difficult. And it's also our job not just to help them to get to the NFL, it's our job to help them stay in the NFL and build a career, right? That's the only way to truly build or have a chance at building long, sustaining, and maybe even generational wealth. For an offensive line, it all starts up here, right, and in here. We did improve. You saw the roster. I mean, it's a different offensive line from a power, balance, body control, foot and body quickness, heavy-handed guys that play with a mentality and demeanor that you want. The way we coach Coach Mirabal is our offensive line coach. I always like to tell people I'm the assistant O-line coach during the year. And I spend a ton of time over there and with the tight ends and with special teams because that position as well as the defensive line requires several sets of eyes. They are gelling and they are gelling well. They spend a lot of time together, sometimes by choice and sometimes because we give them no choice. They're made of the right stuff. They're investing. That offensive line is something that we are really, really excited about.
Coach, as you enter into your second season, what's the biggest adjustment you feel like you've had to make as a coach just to kind of get into the season? And what's the biggest things you've taken away maybe from the first season and going into the season?
The biggest adjustment? I don't know. That's hard to say. That's hard to say. You just keep learning and growing all the time. But that's not an adjustment. We take that as doctrine. Like we are in a constant state of learning and a constant state of growing. I know you had a two-part question. What was the second part?
Just how have the adjustments helped you as y'all get ready for season number 2?
Well, I mean, when you assess and you go through the areas of improvement, you attack it right away through personnel acquisition, through adapting your schemes and the people, support staff roles and what they can do to help you get ahead. Processes, right? We are in a very humid and hot, right? Climate is very challenging, so you have to make sure that you work hard, but you don't also damage your team and its ability to play at its highest level on game days. So the science, we have a kind of a quirky schedule, right? Yeah. Friday night, Saturday, Thursday, back to Saturday. So all the different logistical challenges that come with that, the scheduling, just challenges that come with that, we've really studied them hard and addressed them to give us our best chance.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Just a little earlier suggested that there wasn't a total problem. And that's kind of why all the changes didn't be made. Did you kind of sense that at all?
I sense a team that was trying, that was compliant. Let's call it what it is. Our blueprint, our culture is as physical, as demanding, as accountability driven as the culture we walked into was opposite to that. I hate to put it bluntly, but when those two cultures and mentalities collide, you know what? You got to go through what you got to go through, and we don't shy away from that. Okay?
And then No divisions this year. Good, bad, indifferent.
You know, we'll see. I mean, we're moving more and more towards, it looks like, an NFL models and everything we do. Playing on the field and deciding championships on the field, I think, are critically important.
You've talked a lot about today about Shannon Dawson, his philosophy on offense. What do you like about Lane's injuries?
Well, he causes issues. He really does. Very disruptive, aggressive with movement and pressure, but also very intelligently using simulated pressures and changing the picture with disguise coverage. I think he makes it very difficult to hone in on what you're doing. Okay, so when an offense comes out of its huddle, or if they're going fast, they can't say, hey, Miami's going to be in a 4 down front with a G and a 3 technique and a 7 technique. They're going to have to ID it, call it, and then that picture may move pre-snap or post-snap. The back end may rotate or not, or go the other way. I think that's number one. Number two, the energy and juice that he brings. His players, if you look at his history as a defense coordinator, even as a head coach, that defense plays hard. Those are staggering numbers statistically as it relates to defensive play. One of them, I believe, was, I think, the all-time best run defense in college football. So they play hard, and he's just really, really smart. He's a back-end guy, and he understands the front seven, so he connects the pieces very well together, and he connects the coaches and players very well together also. He is, in my opinion, both those guys, just elite human beings, elite coaches.
Mario, when you're saying the accountability thing a minute ago, what are some of the little things you've seen here this offseason that show you things are moving in the right direction?
Academics. It all starts and ends with academics. What does your locker room look like? What are community service hours like? Right now, they're tops in the country. So we're making things besides ourselves more important. Is anyone even thinking about being late to a meeting or a workout? Because you got the wrong guy, right? Accountability standards being really high. On your volunteer days, right? You can't take role, but it's also voluntary to win the ACC championship, right? So I think what's evident is that the shift in personnel and the shift in coaching has littered the place with internally driven people that understand that this work ethic thing has to be real 24/7, and that you have to hold each other accountable. If not, the organization does not work. So that's what you see. You see true ownership now, and that has to now translate to the difficulties and the challenges of fall camp, right? The hot sun, the long days, the long hours, understanding your playbook inside and out. So we see progress. No one is proclaiming being there yet, and things are exact. No one, and we will never do that. We just feel that everything that we're doing has got us on the right trajectory because we are progressing.
Mario, when you're dealing with kicking, when there's a delicate balance, long snapper, holder, the kicker, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, a lot of variables. When you have any change in that, like with long snapper, how much do you sort of have to really work on timing, rhythm? How much do you worry about it, even if it's a guy who's had some game reps before?
A lot. The one I like to talk about is the holder. The holder is as important as anybody in that process now. He really is. Now, our long snapper remains the same. You know what I mean? Mason Knapper's been with us forever, so it's kind of the same. He has worked, he has snapped and taken live reps, and our kicker is an excellent kicker and a really driven, motivated guy, great teammate. And then our punter who just came in, I think we will not skip a beat. I think Lou Headley was awesome. Awesome player, awesome person, awesome teammate, and I think that Dylan's going to pick up right where he left off.
Is he going to be the holder or the punter?
He's going to be the punter.
Okay.
Him and Will Hutchinson are battling for the punting job.
Okay.
Starting next year, you're playing 7 times which is as often as you play most of your conference. Do you like that arrangement?
I do. Because that's what I grew up doing and knowing. That's one of the reasons I came to Miami as a player, and it's certainly a reason for the opportunity to come back as a coach. Tremendous amount of respect for Coach Freeman and that program, and I think it's really good for college football. It's good for Miami, and it's good for Notre Dame.
Cam was saying before that he kind of feels there's more of a buy-in to you this year than there was last year. You notice the same thing? Did he tell you that, I guess? well?
I think last year was a lot for a lot of guys. So I think a team is probably more compliant than all the way to where it needs to be. Does that make sense? In other words, the culture and the regimen that we bring in, I mean, it has stood the test of time here under Jimmy Johnson. It's similar to the places we stopped at while being at Alabama and then moving on to Oregon and then brought here. And that's about as far one way as it was before we got here. And I think that's a difficult transition for players. So it's your job to help them understand it and help them catch up, but you can't pretend that everyone's caught up, and you won't. You just got to keep training, keep teaching, keep getting guys better, and then as guys catch up, great. As guys don't, you've got to get guys that can keep up.
Did you see that the buy-in last year was a big problem in not having a winning season, or was it more injuries or inexperience or that kind of thing as opposed to the buy-in that you can't run?
Well, I think at some point in time, it's important for like yourself as a media member the program we left is very different than the program we walked into, right? We left a program with multiple championships to go fix a program whose recruiting results and draft results were the worst it's had in both its history and in recent memory. So there's no magic to an instant repair to that, right? And years of that led to, hey, we got to stop and now we've got to rebuild and go in a direction. That's where we come in, and that's where we pick up. So it is as simple as that. There is no, secret or hidden agenda as to what it is. It has to be better at all levels, and it starts with personnel and coaching and all things that go with it. And two areas where, especially personnel acquisition, where Miami has not done a good job for a long time. And in our first year, it's the number 5 class in the country. That's a good start. Should be like that every year before we got here. But then we wouldn't be here, right? So
last year, I guess, you couldn't really shock you. You kind of figured it could be a good chance.
Last year, nothing shocked me. We knew exactly what we came to. College football programs make changes because things are going good or they're not going well. We came over here because of why? They weren't going quite to the expectation it should be. And that didn't happen overnight. That kept happening and happened until it led to that. So fixing it also is not overnight. Does that make sense? So that's the best way to put it, in a very transparent and just honest fashion. You know football. So it's important to tell the real story,
Coach, you were once fresh in the Pac-12. What advice would you give to Deion Sanders?
One more time?
You were once fresh in the Pac-12. What advice would you give to Deion Sanders going into the same situation?
I think he'll do great. I don't think he needs my advice. He's obviously was a Hall of Fame player and has done a great job coaching, and now is taking on a challenge which I'm sure he'll do really well at.
You had some recruiting hits and misses with NIL, of course, being in the fold, one of them being from Monty McClain. How hard was that to lose a guy like him?
I don't think that losing a guy or gaining one guy makes or breaks an entire program. And I don't think it's healthy, and I don't think it's productive to focus on a guy that you miss, because you can only have 85 and you could land between 25 and 40 a year, right? Those are about the numbers that you can have, and you can only be so deep at certain positions. When you miss on a guy, you don't go hater mode. You just don't do that. You know what you do? You wish that young man the best. Let him go have great success. You know what? He might have been a Miami Hurricane. He might not have been one. He's not one right now. It doesn't matter. May he go on and have great success, and I think all parties will do just fine. Make sense?
What needs do you to address this season? Are you got the roster and brought in
Right. Well, I think our team needs to learn how to take a shot and respond to it. I think last year, towards the end of the season, when Tyler was hurt, we weren't scoring many points. If we would get down by a certain amount, I think our team had a tough time coming out of a hole. Obviously, that's my responsibility to make sure our mindset is right. So the competitive response and training that is important. I also think is making sure that our team gets off to a faster start. You can't always ascertain that, but you want to make sure that you do everything possible to guarantee that you're going to come out of the tunnel at your best. You give yourself the best chance to build momentum. And momentum in college football is about as big as anything.
How do you like this newer air raid version of the ball now? It's more run, so you're more balanced. Is that why you also favored Shannon bringing him in?
Well, I think a guy like Coach Shannon Dawson realized that you can't be one-dimensional in college football. But man, if you could combine those principles in the passing game with a great, name it, run game, screen game, move the pocket game, draw game, if you could get all those things together, you could be really effective. And he's been doing that. He's been morphing to that over time, and sitting with him and his plan for our offense, and then watching him actually execute in the spring it's exactly what we felt that we needed. And I think not only is our team excited, but I think anyone that's been to practice, particularly recruits that come in, the community in South Florida, which is a dynamic football community, right? I think those guys, they are excited knowing that what playmakers are going to have a chance to do something with the ball because this offense finds a way to get them the ball. So really, really pleased and grateful to have Coach Dawson with us.
What kind of marriage is Coach Dawson's offense to Tyler's skill set? How is that?
It fits. It tailors to him, and it also challenges him. You don't want something that a guy could just ease into. Tyler, like all of us, we need to keep growing and developing and getting better. And I think he wants that, and he's excited about the way that he is challenged and pushed to learn new things, right? Improve technique, improve decision making, and pocket presence and all that stuff. So it's the right match, it's the right fit, and the supporting cast, I think, will benefit from having this system.
Is the air raid a fair term to use to describe it, I guess? Or
No.
It seems like every team, it's a different version of the air raid.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would refer to it as that. Are there principles of that? I think every offense now carries some of those. Is that some of his background, Coach Dawson's? Yes, it is. He's very versatile, and I think the successful coordinators are continuing to morph into being versatile, flexible, and adaptable, and he has done that.
I talked to Garrett Riley last week. He called it the dirt raid. Is that more like how you kind of the dirt raid instead of air raid? He's really focused on that run element. Is that maybe a better way to describe it?
I just think it's it might be a way to describe it. I think there are the elements that come with the run game, a downhill run game, and the way it helps open up so many other things. It's got some kind of a name. I just don't know. I don't know what that is. I know that it is a very effective way to move the ball, produce points and yards, and really protect your defense. Which last year, our defense had been getting better, and then it came to a point where they were just on the field just way too long. And so a good offense protects and helps build a better defense.
Mario, in light of the stuff that's happening when Western come out, how do you make sure that culture is good?
Yes, sir.
Stuff like that.
Yes, sir. You get everybody involved, from the AD to your team captains to your players. And I know Coach Fitzgerald, he's a great man and a great coach, so I don't know the particulars, and I can't comment on that stuff, but I know that the topic out there, relates to hazing, so I don't judge, so I don't know what is being talked of or what they say happened there. As it relates to that topic, it just doesn't have a part or a role in any program. And because you're not with your players every second of the day, you have to do a really good job of establishing rules and guidelines and setting protocols with people that are going to be around each other 24/7.
Obviously, there's a lot of behavior, playful banter, whatever, busting up guys in a good-natured way.
I was in a locker room where it was fun, and it was I never considered myself as part of it. We always had a great culture at the University of Miami, so I don't know. I just it's you want college to be challenging, but to be a great experience. And you don't want to tread on a line that can go into, harmful and destructive behavior. And you just got to outline those behaviors and those protocols so that everyone has clarity on them, and that you have vigilance. And when something like this happens, I think everyone's awareness has been heightened as it relates to vigilance and education regarding this. We do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do.
With the depth that Miami has right now, who do you see stepping up on the coming season that side?
Well, you know, we certainly have rebuilt our offensive line. We've rebuilt the edges, the linebacking core. We've got more pieces in the secondary, the wide receiver core. I mean, it's a lot. We're going to play a lot of guys. We're going to play guys that we can trust. So, you know, playing is not going to be a like a right. You know, it's got to be treated as a privilege and one that's earned. But it's got to be guys that you can trust, and that's what it's going to be. Yes, of course.
I know that in their second season, from coaching records, they typically have a good season by the second season. Are you excited for this upcoming season for your team?
I'm excited the whole way through. You know, I just kind of go. You know, you got to please understand that every job minus one that I've ever taken has been a rebuild. You know. And I think, you know, it was very clear, you know, like we mentioned earlier, the job we left was very different than the job we took on. We left a place that was kicking butt, and we entered a place that needed to kick butt again, to perform at a high level, and that's not a magical, and like, probably one of the main reasons I was hired is because, like, we know what this comes with, and we know what you have to do to get that done, and like that's what excites me more than anything. The results, look, nothing. I can confidently say nothing's going to stop Miami from return to national prominence. You know, I'm not going to predict that from happening today, tomorrow. But the people in place, the incoming talent, the level of coaching, you know, it's gonna. You know, does it take a little time? It does take a little time. But are all the efforts and all the people and all the things being put in there? Yeah, absolutely they are. How can we tell also? It's what we've done everywhere. There hasn't been, it's been a conference or a national title at every single one of those stops. So this one we just feel is the best one. This is the one that when you get to a point where you're rolling strong, then it rolls strong and it's really, really hard to stop. So. But we're excited about the process of development. I'm excited to surround these guys with better supporting cast members, with more specific and adaptable coaching, and just a much more connected team. One that is putting a lot of time and effort, but that's not a guarantee you're going to do well. It's because of the investment and the fit. And I think the fit is exactly what it needs to be for Miami right now. You're welcome.
If you could maybe change some things in terms of the recruiting calendar, how the early signing period.
How much time do you have?
The recruiting, you know, with the early signing period coinciding with transfer portal and coaching changes and everything else you're going on. If you could move that, would you? Would you switch it around a little bit?
Yeah, there's some things I think, yes, I would make them all fit each other so that decisions could be made and not be backtracked on. And that relates us to even, you know, maybe coaches taking jobs too, you know, because it's just not, nothing is fair. Life isn't fair. And I get that aspect. We'll have to have that too. You know, it can't be everything, hey, you want it like this. We can't have the, you know, that mindset either. But there has to be a better way to manage a roster. I mean, think about it. Right now, any graduate can walk into your office and leave your program. So if you've done a great job in spring and developed a bunch of guys, let's say 12 of them, you could have a roster at 73 scholarship players tomorrow. 12 guys decide to go somewhere. And so what are you supposed to do as a coach? Are you supposed to keep 95 on the roster in case it happens and then ask 10 to leave? Or do you just stay at 85 and run the risk? There's no right answer. The system, I think everyone's working at it. I do want to say that. I don't point fingers. I don't make noise about stuff. If I have a solution to bring to the table, man, I will gladly bring it. I'm not there yet. I'm just talking about the challenges that come with it and why people can get frustrated, but I still believe there's no sense in making noise. We got to create solutions to help it just be just more, like the month of June. I mean, June's a beast now.
It really is.
June is a beast. I mean, have you guys seen what June comes with?
Yeah.
Have you? You want to do something? You want to do a documentary? Camp out with the staff in the month of June and see if you still like football. Because
If you got a Father's Day?
it's right. You get a Happy Father's Day text. I mean, you get that. Yeah, you get a text. You'll be home by 10 p.m. You'll be fine. You know, you get to enjoy a late snack with the family. But at the same time, look, I wouldn't trade that what we do for anything. It's the best. It just comes with a lot now, and until someone finds a better solution.
Do you worry about all that, maybe pushing coaches out of the game, college?
I don't. I think every great organization or process has natural attrition to it, and if that's what causes guys to leave, then so be it. Then it's better for them to leave because student athletes, both incoming and in your program, need your full attention, and your family has to be married to it. They got to be willing to understand and spend time at the facility with you. You might have to, in between crazy meetings, have lunch with your wife and your kids. You got to roll with it, or you got to move on.
So you went back and told 20-year-old Mario, you would say, get into coaching.
100%, full throttle, no hesitation. Do it right. Don't always do it the right way. Bust your butt. Don't ever stray from that. Don't ever become a social media tough guy. Don't change morals, principles, and values. Do right. And hard work will pay off. Thanks, guys.